Mr. Amy, I do have something that we can cover prior to get Travis ready in a few minutes. He has it in order. Just to give you guys notice, the staff has been working for the last couple of months on trying to figure out the best way to handle not only Tech River, but now the manufacturing incubator space and developing the policies and procedures that need to go in there. Identify, this kind of goes to Mr. Samuel's point earlier, but identifying the markets, the target companies, who we would actually go after if we have markets in Hardy County, what we need to do to go outside, so forth and so on. So we have toured a couple of other incubator spaces and gotten some of their policies and procedures. We've also met with a couple of consultants that can help us develop that. So just giving you guys notice that probably by next month we will bring back some type of formal proposal, bids, whatever we decide, however we decide to do with Ken's direction, and bring that to you guys back next month. We'll tie both incubator spaces with each other to develop those policies and procedures. So I should have said that earlier, Mr. Samuels, when you were making your comments about that, but we are working on that, have been working on that for the last several months. So
Good.
Just to give you guys notice. Questions? Anything in particular that you're wanting to see? Okay, thank you.
Sorry about that. Good morning again, and thank you very much for your time. This is an update regarding what we are doing at Contiuum. As always, please ask any questions that you want. While we're presenting, basically, from a development standpoint, we released 2.2. This is important to our strategy to allow in-app purchases to happen inside the iTunes store or the Google store. So basically, people can now buy a visit at a time within the store at the point of care. This was a big deal because of Apple rules and as well as some of the online services in terms of what you can and cannot do. But now we have the opportunity for our managed services to be purchased within the app itself, not just from the website. In terms of our sales pipeline, we have identified, talked with, and in various stages with over 120 organizations that we have are in various portions of the sales cycle. We have 4 that we believe have a high probability of closing within the next 30 to 60 days to bring significant multi-7-figure revenue sources in. And one client that is advanced to an MOU where we have a memorandum of understanding, and it is an international client, and I'm very excited about it. It has some unique funding sources, and they themselves have over 133 partnerships with pharma, research, and other organizations, and so they like CareSync and what it can be doing for their membership as well as our managed services. It collects the records. So again, to reiterate, all this business that we're out there doing for the managed services components are performed by the jobs in Hardy County. We just got back from the InHealth Summit in Washington, D.C. This is an offshoot of HIMSS. The reason I put it up here as part of the sales report is that I can tell you, we're right on track. The Cleveland Clinic CMO did a presentation as well as the head of SureScripts and Qualcomm and just a who's who, including Aetna. We are in a perfect storm when it comes to healthcare. And the 3 things of why this should matter and why you should be excited that you have created a company here in this town in partnership with us is that Obamacare changed everything. The age of consumerism, where people feel like they can buy things and have access to things, and they want to be an advocate in their lives in general as it applies to healthcare, is the second reason. And the third reason is mobility. The pervasiveness of these things have been profound in creating what even Cleveland Clinic calls the perfect storm for healthcare change. It is an exciting opportunity. I will tell you that we spent hours upon hours with some strategic development people, corporation after corporation after corporation. I would just give you, for instance, Verizon spent 2 hours in our booth. Their strategic development, officers out of Atlanta and the surrounding counties are trying desperately to get into this. Qualcomm has done 20 acquisitions in the last 2 years in the healthcare space. Bright House, as well as Time Warner, were in our booth. People are trying to get into the healthcare technology space from all sectors. Even Symantec, the antivirus people, were there. In booths, in presenting, Intel was there. We have had countless meetings even with VCs that came by the booth. We've met with multiple. One of the things that I took off the last one in terms of broad reach, one of the things that pharmacy benefit managers are having a difficult time with is that when you order your drugs from online, it doesn't come from the retail environment, it comes from a warehouse. They're staffed with pharmacists and nurses, and they often need to talk to people about reconciling the medication list. It conflicts. They get orders from this, for this drug for cholesterol and this drug for cholesterol, and it's coming from multiple sources. They often talk to the patients and the patient's family. They have no software to communicate that with. And so there, again, opportunity after opportunity about how do these entities coordinate care. When you have a platform and you have services like ours, it is a big deal. In terms of scope, we are broadening our scope of managed services January 1 in Tech River to include appointment setting and task updating. So now basically if you have the CareSync Plus service, we will book your appointments for you. And it will be on your calendar, and that calendar in February will then integrate with all of your calendars that you have, whether it's Outlook, Google, and so forth. Why this is a big deal is that we continue along the theme that people need help managing and coordinating their care. And they are willing to pay for someone else to do it because often they don't have the knowledge or the time to engage in them themselves. Again, these are expansion of services for jobs here at heart. We do not have CareSync Plus people anywhere else in the world but here in Oregon. So 2 companies in terms of pharmacy benefit managers that have customers in excess of 100,000. Again, do we have a platform? You would reconcile the medication list. We could have access because they share it. You might feel like it's not that sort of exciting to hear. People in Washington, D.C. that work with 4,500 attendees, I will tell you this is a big deal for them because it gives them an opportunity to bridge the gaps between patients and their care teams. We have continued along with our national online social campaigns. The reason that this is important is that when these companies buy bulks of people that we bring them in, we have to have a customer face that says, okay, this insurance company or this pharmacy has now bought these services and this tool for you. And so we have to have a way to message them. We say that, we are the advocate for the patient. And so a lot of what our consumer image is and what we do for direct consumer advertising is based upon those that would pay to stimulate, those that would pay for the service on behalf of their members need to know that our onboarding process is customer friendly. So if you go to our website and look at some of our other things, you will see we have a very active advertising campaign for them. In terms of raising additional capital, we've been talking about this for months. I'm happy to report that we are in deep due diligence discussion with 5 different firms. What that means in straight talk is that they have signed the necessary paperwork. They have given us questions and things that they want to see. We have set up online data vaults that are secure, and those have been shared with them. So we are in due diligence with many firms. We are trying to raise between $8 and $10 million to fund expansion and growth. And so I'm happy to report that those are continuing on, including later today in Sarasota, yesterday Fort Lauderdale, tomorrow Naples, last week, as I reported, in D.C., and then later this week back in South Tampa. So we continue to move forward along that line and are happy with the progress. We're also happy about the fact that people aren't saying no to us. They're saying, they're asking the right questions they should be. But even as yesterday in our meetings in Fort Lauderdale, people are wanting to get into healthcare. This one particular organization owns wound cares. And they own a huge concierge practice for concierge medicine doctors, which those doctors only take a couple thousand clients per year, but they give you basically, the platinum card level treatment. They have no software to communicate with patients and their families. So when we talk about the millions and the years that we have spent investing into this project, I am telling you that the market is saying, great, this is awesome, let's do it. I would probably even have better things to say this month if it wasn't for Christmas, and it wasn't Christmas falling on a Wednesday, and we lost some of the momentum because we're having to schedule around people's vacations. But other than that, what we have is good. Highlights of our managed services, I talked about that, but basically we are broadening the scope. The reason that we're broadening the scope is because one of the contracts that we're trying to close is for a significant 5-digit population here in Florida. And they gave us clinical vignettes, and some of these vignettes talk about somebody who is schizophrenic, on home oxygen, on depression, overweight, and some of these things. These are things that the payer, the insurance company, is trying to manage. And one of the things that happen is they often forget to make appointments. They often forget to do these things, and so they become non-compliant. And they end up in the ER, and they're very expensive. So they're looking for care coordination. So what I want to just underscore today, we're not trying to build a call center here. We are trying to build managed services and healthcare center here that is broader, deeper, more meaningful, and it includes people who eventually hire that have strong clinical backgrounds, because these are the services that people need. And the fact that we can sync up the silos that are stuck in different doctors and the hospitals and so forth for patients is a big deal. And I know I've said that before, but I'm saying it with renewed enthusiasm based upon just being in DC last month. What we are doing is not fantasy. It's not, it's nothing bad. We're where we should be, and the course we're going in, and what we have to offer is very unique. And then lastly, I want to thank everybody at Tech River. They work nights and weekends, and they built an incredible float, and we were fortunate to actually get first place. So we are grateful for that, and it was just, it was a lot of fun. So for those of you who saw the Kirsten float, it was pretty spectacular. And so that was the ingenuity and the brains and design of the people that work here in Tech River. And so we're very grateful.
Thank you, Travis. Casey?
Any questions on the draw request that I can answer? Anybody? I did just want to make one note because I did have a board member question me. As you know, it was a total of $7.25 million to date, including this draw request. $7,190,844.96 has been spent, which leaves a balance of $59,155.04. So I did have a question from a board member, so I just wanted to give everybody that update where we were.
Thank you, Casey. Any questions from board members? Comments? Thank you for your report. And Bill, if you'll bring us up to speed on the amendment.
This is the actual amendment that formalizes the funding of the last $990,881.14. We need this document to attach to the original agreement, and I'm requesting your approval at this time.
How much of this has been spent already?
This would be the last draw today. How much is that?
Did you draw today?
Well, he said how much has been spent of the 990. They've taken 2 draws. This will be the third and last draw to complete the 990.
But all there is left is $59,000
Yes,
of this
sir.
money. Is that
Of
correct?
the 900, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Once this draw's deducted.
Correct.
Oh, so the $59,000 is after this draw's been done.
Yeah.
That's all there is left of the original 7.25.
Correct. So do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion because,
You've already-
yeah, we've,
we have a second?
Second.
Any further questions or comments from board members? Any public comment? Mr. Coleman?
I just had, I thought there was supposed to be a contract for year one, and then there was going to be a contract for year two of this is the truth, the way it's laid out. And then there's supposed to be a contract for year three. And that contract was supposed to have been done prior to the beginning of year three, which I think might have been in October. Now, out of the blue, we see there's no year three contract. We see a continuation of I guess, year two contract, and it looks to me like it terminates on the end of this month. Now, that tells me that beginning January the 1st, the relationship between Contiuum Labs and the IDA is either terminated or is proceeding off on its own under no contract, no agreement. Is that correct, Mr. Lambert?
Maybe.
I don't know. I'm asking a question. It just, I thought that there was supposed to be a year three contract that laid out any terms of change for year three and how you were going to do your funding and all that. And there is no year three contract. This is just an addendum to the year two contract.
I believe you were at the meeting when this extension was granted. I think it was at the Preco building. And we're at a juncture at this point where the original $7.25 million funding was done on this amendment to assignment and modification agreement. I'll let Mr. Edwards further elaborate.
Well, he doesn't need to elaborate. I'm just saying it appears to me that there should have been a contract for the third year that went all the way to the end of the third year, October of 14. There should be something there that either, I mean, you're the one who came up and said, well, we think we'll give him the rest of the 990, but we want to give him an audit, and he's either going to give us a match or we're going to do something. So at that meeting, Mr. Davis said, well, let's forget about all that. Let's just give him the money. And you gave him the money. Now you're backtracking to try to get some kind of an agreement. I mean, I don't know why you're doing it now. You did, with the $600,000 you did back in June or July, you didn't have any agreement for that. But needless to say, I think January the 1st, you have no more contract with Contiuum Labs. That's what I think.
Final comments, Mr. Coleman.
No, listen, I'm asking a question. It's not a comment. I'm asking, I think it should be addressed. Why are you doing an agreement that ends in 2 weeks?
Because it is.
Let me answer that.
What's going to happen on January the 1st? That's my question.
Okay, thank you.
2014.
Henry, that's a good question. I'll do my best to answer it. I think when this thing was initially contemplated, thought through, the design, I think, was intended to be a three-year deal, like he is right. In October, I came to you, the meeting at the Preco building, where you approved the last $990,000 of the original amount. It was pretty clear that at the rate of the draw request, it was going to be over at the end of December would be the last draw request, October, November, December. The reason it was not brought back to you in the November, you directed me to prepare the agreement to reflect the last $990,000. The reason I didn't bring it back to you in November is because the discussion was going on the agreed upon procedures. What were we going to say in the document about the audit or the agreed upon procedures, et cetera? So once I got a handle on that, that's why it's before you today, with an effective date back in October. Henry, your point is well taken. I think that given the discussion today on the agreed upon procedures, I would prefer from a legal standpoint to have the contract open through probably June 30th. Because we're going to have agreed upon procedures done. We don't know what the costs are going to be. We don't know if it's 25%, 50, 75, or 100%, and how long that's going to take. And I think he's made a valid point. We ought to consider just modifying that portion of the agreement to say June 30th of 2014.
Even though we're virtually out of money.
Yeah, and the other thing that makes me say that and agree with what he's saying is that I was not aware there's another $59,000 sitting out there that has to be dealt with in some way, shape, or form. So, kind of new information to me, and he made a good point, and my recommendation will be change that date in there to June 30th.
What,
You're unplugged.
I'm unplugged? Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that next month?
That
we
doesn't
can go
mean there's
back?
there's no more funding approved, Donald. The dollar amount was in there. That 900.
Okay, that dollar amount can't be changed.
That dollar amount, I'm not telling you to change. I'm just telling you to change the expiration of the agreement period to June 30th of 14.
Okay, 'cause I can see that happening.
Any other comments? Any other comments or questions from the board members?
Do I need to amend my motion to include that date change?
Yes, if you would like to amend your motion. So Dottie's amending her motion to include the date change for the term expiring June 30, 2014. Jean, do you continue with your second?
Yes.
Any other public comment? All those in favor? Anyone opposed?
That's scary.
For clarification, the opposing votes were Horst, Donald, was there someone else? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on into financial report.
Page 25 is your balance sheet as of November 30th for the Economic Development Council. As of November 30th, total checking was $18,394.23. We have since made an additional draw from the EDA for funding. Current liabilities are $10,473.34, making our total liabilities and equity $19,294.23. If you go to the next page, page 26, that's your profit and loss. Shows our income and expenses for the month. It was a pretty normal month this month, totaling $22,646.52. And you'll notice that we received rental income of $3,000. That's 3 months worth of CRA's rent that they paid to us for renting office space. So they paid 3 months worth. Other than that, there weren't any expenses that were out of the ordinary for this past month. Pages 27 through 31 are your general ledger. If you want to take a moment to look through that, if you have any specific questions on a transaction, I can answer that for you. If there's no other questions on that, we'll move. Page 32 is your payroll summary. And then the last page being just a copy of the budget for you to have. And then your general or your reconciliation of the bank accounts. If you flip over to page 37, that takes us to the balance sheet for the Industrial Development Authority. As of November 30th, total checking was a little over $4 million. Total liabilities and equity, $4.9 million. Going to page 38, that's your profit and loss by class.
This is actually going to show you specifically by class where the money is going to each month. The first column that we have is for the culvert and pond out of the Commerce Park. The last transaction down at the bottom in capital outlay is a little over $62,000. That was for the construction of the culvert, the piping, and payments to Half Acre. If you go 2 columns over to the Grove, we had some rental income that had to have a journal entry adjustment done by Wicks Brown for us, so just making notation of that. And then the last column is titled the incubator column. When we vote on the financials, I would like to request approving the financials with an amendment to the profit and loss by class incubator line item. The $41,350 that is allocated under this class is incorrect. It should be placed in Commerce Park expansion. It was not. It was for work by Hunter Engineering, and that should be in Commerce Park expansion and not the incubator category. So I would like to amend the financials to rectify that. If you go to the next page, profit and loss by class, you'll notice that for property management, we did pay property taxes already for the year, so that was already taken out.
Did you say we're paying Hunter Engineering for doing work on the, whatever that thing is out there, the crossing? The culvert thing. Huh?
They're the engineer of record.
Who is?
Hunter.
No, I'm talking about Half Acre.
Half Acre.
Are we saying
Half
Half Acre?
Acre's the project.
They're the project.
I know, are they doing that too?
No, well, they didn't get the contract, but they manage the
That's
project.
what I'm asking. They just automatically manage these things as they come
That's
up?
what we hired them to do.
We don't vote on anything to let them do that?
We have a contract with them that is,
What does it say?
was voted on.
What does
That
it
we
say?
have a 5-year contract with them right now for project management.
So you're telling me for 5 years they're gonna do everything out there at that park?
Well, they don't do it.
Project management.
Project
I
management.
know what they do, Bill, but that means that we can't do an RFP on anything that goes in that park?
They RFP everything that goes into that park. They handle the project management for us, and they.
Okay, so you're telling me another construction firm can bid on a project that we do out there?
Absolutely.
Yes, they do. They just manage it for us.
Half Acre does
They
not
assimilate the bids.
self-perform.
They don't do the work. They don't sell.
Okay, so if we decide to build a 100,000 square foot building, other people can bid, other contractors can bid to build that building without this management team that we're paying extra for.
I don't know who you're gonna get to manage it. I don't think.
Well, I didn't say we was gonna have anybody
It
manage
is
it.
incredibly complex to do these construction jobs, and we have to have someone to help us with it.
So you're telling me that everybody in the state of Florida that has a commerce park or whatever, they have a manager that does this, they just don't put out the bid for the building and let somebody come in and build it?
I don't know.
Well, it's
I don't
like
have-
me, so it's extra money.
I don't even know how to respond to you.
Well,
Well, the difficulty that we would have if we did not have them doing the project management, when we have the approval for the cost of a building, those costs are built into that. Because if we were to manage that construction ourselves, then we're looking at our own time, labor, not understanding the specifications on the building. There are things that we're handling with the project management that are beyond our level of expertise.
okay, so the county does not go out there and inspect the building?
For what?
Well, somebody said down there, we don't have the expertise. Well, when somebody builds a
Not for
building,
construction specifications, no, we don't.
well, if a contractor gets a building to build for us, and they get the county to inspect the building as they go through the process, well, that
The county
happens
is
every
not-
day
the county
without
is not-
a contractor.
The county is not doing specification inspections on that building. The county is only inspecting the building to make sure that it meets the county's requirements and codes. They're not
Sure.
doing project
That's what they do.
management to make sure that what we agreed upon in the contract is what we're being delivered.
That's what the contractor does. The contractor says, I'm gonna put this size,
Who minds the contractor?
Holy cow.
the contractor does. He does it himself.
No way.
When you built your house, Bill, did you hire somebody like Half Acre to come overlook it while you had it built?
I hired a general contractor.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
But in this instance,
That's
the
what I'm
general
saying.
contractor does one specific function. He doesn't do the site development, he doesn't do the engineering, he
Right.
doesn't do the architectural design plans,
Right.
he doesn't work with the plumbers and the electricians. All of that has to be coordinated with some macro entity. And the general contractor, if we used a certain type of building process, could do that. But so many of these things we're doing don't fit a building. The culvert specifically did not fit a building. The retention pond does not fit a building. The expansion of the Commerce Park is not the same as building a building. There are all these different issues, and we have to have someone who has contract and construction competency to help us assimilate all this information for you.
Well, today is the day that we're really concerned about spending money, and I'm just wondering how much money we would save. I mean, if Mid-Florida goes and builds a bank, do they hire somebody like that to
Absolutely.
go out there and oversee the contractor?
We have a project manager on staff, and if we were doing a construction loan for you, then we would hire someone to come out before the draws were released to the builder and inspect the property to make sure that was completed, absolutely.
Okay, so every commercial building is built. They have a project manager that they're paying to come out there, and the contractor just builds it and somebody tells him that's right or that's wrong or something. Is that correct?
I don't think anybody said that.
Not, but this isn't building a house. This is a lot more complex than just building a house. This is multi-million-dollar buildings. It's not just concrete and steel. It's everything has to go in it. It's the electrical. You got a different contractor for the electrical, different contractor for the concrete, different contractor for the red iron, different contractor for the interior. Somebody has to coordinate.
And they're an expert in all those fields?
That's what we hired them for.
Well, they certainly
don't
were
like them-
expert at managing the concrete.
Okay, got me.
Okay, we're on the,
Couldn't pass it up there.
okay, we need to wrap up on the financial report. Are there any other questions on the financial report for Sarah? Sarah, could you please clarify once again about moving the 41,000 and what you need as far as the amendment on the financials?
Yes, just when you approve the financials, approve them contingent on amending the profit and loss by class to reflect the line item entitled incubator, that the $41,350 paid out to Hunter Engineering be moved to Commerce Park expansion line item.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? I'm sorry. Gene, was that you? Do we have a second? Any further comments on the financials by board members? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay. Any announcements or other business from board members? Yes, Mike.
No, I can talk loud enough. I have a big mouth. I want to say that in watching how this meeting goes and everyone on here, I want to tell you, and yes, even you, Horace, and yes, even you, Donald, I appreciate everyone being here. I appreciate everyone sacrificing their time, and I know it's a sacrifice to be on this board, but I, for one, appreciate your service and appreciate you being here. I just wanted to hear that.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other business from board members? Any other public comment? Henry?
I just go down the list real quick. if Half Acre gets paid 5% automatically on every project in this county for 5 years, on $1 million project, that'd be what, 50,000, something like that. So they may be worth it. I don't know if they bring $50,000 to the table on a $1 million project. So for a $2 million project or a $10 million project, it might be worth thinking about. You may make more money if you hired a professional project manager. I mean, I know why you hired Half Acres, because you were trying to manage these projects alone, understaffed, underqualified for that particular function. That's just one thing. On the Half Acre thing, I think that they need a lot more oversight. I think they're working in a vacuum. They do what they do. They pick these contractors. You don't know. You have no idea how that money is being managed, how those bids are being managed, how the RFPs are working. I mean, you really don't know. I've been following this PF Man building. I know it's not done yet. I know they're still talking about a dyno testing room that they've been working on for over a year. They can't figure out whether to build one or buy one out of a box. So I think the board might be well advised to start managing the manager, checking the checker, because you really don't know. I know Mr. Samuels brought up a couple of times about wanting to see some of the backup on these bid awards and stuff. I think that it's kind of a black hole over there. I don't know nothing about them. They may be great. I'm just putting that out. Contiuum Labs. Out of money? How can these elephants just sit here month after month? Why didn't anybody ask Mr. Bond who's paying the salaries of these 15 Hardy County employees sitting over there at Tech River right now? I would ask him that. I would ask him if you sold anything. I mean, his projections and his excitement about what's just around the corner. I mean, I hope to God that some of this works. I agree with him. I think that the timing is right. I think the market kind of came to him with this Obamacare and all that. There's some opportunities. I hope it works. But who's putting the bills this month? I mean, I can't believe nobody made a motion to try to do some kind of a bridge loan or something. Why didn't he tell you that he's paying his own money? Okay, just a couple more small. The $19,599 letter I wrote to you, Vanessa, about an invoice that was submitted to the EDA on Rapid Systems by the IDA for hours and mileage. I mean, I think there's some good points in there. They cannot back up those charges, and they got a check from the EDA. This is for Mr. Lambert's mileage and his hours spent at meetings. They don't have any records. I think they guesstimated that from what Sarah told me this morning. My last comment is this. You have a project manager for Contiuum Labs. I do a great deal of research. If you don't like the product that I put out, challenge it. You point out the errors or the corrections. But when I asked Miss Dixon a question, I sent her an analysis of the draw request. I said, I'd just like to know, did you think of any of these things to check on? Because this is why you're having an audit right now. Had you done all this stuff over the last year, you wouldn't need an audit. You would already know.
We would still be having an audit. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
You may be seated. To address a couple of the concerns or points that you brought up, the funds that are paid as a result of Half Acres project management to our contractors are all audited. So I would challenge your comment about there being no oversight of those funds. Thank you.
I wasn't challenging the audit part. I was challenging
the
process part.
So the whole reason we hire a project manager is so that we do not manage every aspect of the project. That's what we're paying them to do. So just want to clarify that. Additionally, I would like to ask you a question of where you received information about a dyno room.
This might have been 3 days ago. I called the director of planning, Kevin Denny, and asked him how the building was coming. And then he got me on a speakerphone with John Smith, I think, is the head inspector. And I says, how's the building coming? And they said, it's coming along. They're still working through a punch list. We've got many preliminary inspections out there. He said that it looks like they're going to come in with another change order for $23,000 for additional wiring and electrical service that has to be done in that building for a dyno room, which I believe is a testing room for motors. And it has to be reinforced in case a motor blows up, kind of like a jet engine. It has to be contained. So the two of them on a speakerphone told me that they've been going back and not them, but they've been waiting on Half Acre and P.F. Man, waiting, and they're going back and forth for about a year now on what they should do about this dyno room. So the question I says, well, are you going to do your CO on the building, and are they waiting on you, and are they going to let you move in? You're going to let them move in before the dyno room is done? He says, well, we're just waiting on them to tell us what they want to do. They can't make up their minds.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Just to your point, that is not part of our process in that building. It is not part of what we agreed to in building that building. That is something that they are doing on their own. So I just I'm just clarifying that for the record, just so we're all on the same page. Additionally, I did receive your letter regarding the EDA grant. That all of those funds have been, once again, audited. We are not going to reopen and reinvestigate and re-look into things that have been audited by numerous entities. So thank you for your concern. We're not going to reopen. Thank you for your concern. We're not going to reopen that. Okay, any other public comment? If not, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? You may stay.
Merry Christmas.
I hope you get a pretty spring for this year.
Santa's got it.